So, Herc, is it time for calm in Toronto or alarm?
I'm somewhere in between. Like, let me explain myself, okay? And then I will give you the calm or alarm call right here. This team, I feel like we've had this discussion before, because you could change TFC for SKC, Sporting Kansas City, where I had the same discussion that we just had, like, I don't know, a week ago with Peter Vermes, right? Oh. Peter Vermes is also the sporting director, so he's an acting GM, if you will. He's also making these business decisions like Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley got in, by the time he got his Italian players last year, Benedeschi and Insigne, they were like 20-something games in. So that year's a wash, right? This is the first real year. You have to put some onus on Bob Bradley, but also put some onus on Bill Manning, the decisions they've made. You mentioned Bill Manning, the president of Toronto FC. You mentioned the boatload of money that they've spent. Well, that's on Bill Manning's plate as well. And one of those players, Lorenzo Insigne, $14 million a season, $14 million a season, got you 6 goals last year and has 1 goal this year. Lorenzo Insigne has not been better than Federico Bernardeschi, who's been scoring goals for fun in Major League Soccer since he got here. He's not been better than Richie Larea, who's a right back. He's not been better than Jonathan Osorio, who's a TAM player for Toronto FC. So it's also on these players, and it's also about who you have who's available. Let me give you some of the names that aren't available for Toronto FC. You've got Michael Bradley, he's not available. Adama Diomande, who's not available. You're 9, by the way. Matt Hedges, who was a big signing for you in the back, not available. Shane O'Neill, his replacement, not available. Jonathan Osorio, one of the most important players on your team, not available. Victor Vasquez, the list goes on. There's 10 players in total who are injured or not available. And then the problems. Yes, this is where there's an alarm. It's one thing to have injury concerns. It's one thing to not be able to win away from home. They've not been able to win away from home. But when you have players who have been so good throughout their careers, like Mark-Anthony Kaye, when it comes to the fan base, when it comes to being loved and respected, having altercations with his own fans, it shows you that there's something deeper, something rooted and rotted that is going on. I will leave you with this, why I would say it's not time for alarm, okay?
Okay.
Bob Bradley should be worried about a lot of what's going on. And the reality is, he's got the keys to the car, and in some ways hasn't designed this car like Peter Vermes, but has a say in how the car is designed going forward. So they're not going to pull the plug right now. One thing to keep in mind with the calm or alarm is they're in last place in the Eastern Conference right now, okay? But a win would put them in 6th place. A win would put them right back into the mix, because 6 through 12 all have 15 points, which is 3 more points than Toronto FC. There is no relegation. What are you fighting for? You're fighting against yourself. As abysmal as things can be, losing twice in a week to your bitter rival, and I love this rivalry game. I really do. Montreal versus Toronto. You're 3 points away from being in 6th place. Things can change like that in Major League Soccer. It's still way too early, but I'd be alarmed with the play I'm getting out of the players that I have. $14 million should get you a lot more than 7 goals in 2 seasons so far.
Herc, you know that Toronto fan base well. You played there. How tolerant do you think they'll be of what's happening right now?
I don't think tolerant's the word, because they won't be tolerant. Toronto was in a weird space in its existence in Major League Soccer, where in its infancy and early years never did anything of note, never won anything. And then all of a sudden comes the best Major League Soccer team in Major League Soccer's history. Greg Vanney's Toronto side, that for my money, that 2017 team, going on 2018 team, was the best team to ever play in Major League Soccer. And they won everything. Everything they can possibly win, besides the CONCACAF Champions League, they won. They were that team. So they have that expectancy. And the ownership group at MLSE, the ownership group at Toronto FC spent a lot of money. You spoke about those boatloads of money. No team spends like Toronto. You don't spend $14 million on a player per season. Lorenzo Insigne makes $14 million a season to get this type of result. They put the investment in. They expect the results, and the fans know that.
Yeah. Interesting you use the word rotted, Herc, because I was thinking about this, and on a different level and maybe at a different time in the rot. I feel like Toronto FC may be kind of going the way of the LA Galaxy. There's some similarities here. It's not necessarily that it's a team without ambition. It's a team with ambition, but just that seems to keep getting things wrong. You, when talking about the LA Galaxy, seem to almost have zero confidence that they can turn it around.
No, that's
do you
not
really
true.
have confidence that Toronto FC can turn it around?
That's not true. I have confidence that LA Galaxy can turn it around because I feel they got
this season.
Yeah, because it's Major League Soccer, and Major League Soccer is very forgiving. I was part of a Seattle Sounders team that was in way worse position. And
You're telling me Toronto FC or LA Galaxy are gonna do what the Sounders did in 2016 and win MLS Cup? Come on.
That's not what I said. I'm telling you that I've seen it before. I'm telling you that all you need to do in Major League Soccer is get hot at the right time, and you're back in. It's playoffs. It's an expanded field. It's Toronto who essentially could make moves, which the Galaxy can't. They're limited in that sense. Toronto could make summer moves. Toronto have one more DP spot available to use. I doubt they will use that because I think the message sent down from ownership is we're done spending. We need to pull back because $14 million a year on a player, and we've not seen the results, have taught us that, hey, we can't just let you have an open checkbook. But I'm not ready to give up on either team. I think a little bit of health, some better decisions, and a bit of luck could serve both right, and you could see a run happen. Listen, we saw it last season with Toronto. They came up just short.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.